This farm produces over 100,000 kelp per hour. It also crafts up all the kelp blocks for you. But first, before we look at all the others, we've got to start with 1 kelp per hour. Yep, here it is, the 1 kelp per hour. We break the kelp, then it goes into a furnace here, gets cooked up, and we craft it into a block. And we actually have 1 block here crafted. Because, I'll be honest, I did lie, it actually does 6 kelp per hour. However, you do still need extra space, even though you're just using 1 kelp, because if this piston breaks the water block, you won't be collecting any kelp an hour. But anyway, this is positively the worst kelp farm, so I think we need to just get rid of it, and we can move on to the next one. That was a lot more satisfying than the kelp farm. That was a lot more than I expected. Alright, moving on from the crater, we can come to the first real farm. This one produces 3,000 kelp per hour. It uses the standard setup of the observer at the 3rd level with the piston under it. Once the kelp grows up here, it will get pushed and sent along. We've just got 3 of them, 2 high inside and then 5 across. So we've got quite a lot, and it's a bit bigger than what most people would build. Once it's over here, we have it cooking up automatically and then crafting. And as you can see, it will sing us a song. The items will get transferred up this dropper line and then pushed into the chest into the back of these smokers. As we can see, we've got a ton already saved up, and we will produce about 250 per hour once we are at optimal settings. Maybe a little less because we are, of course, using some in cooking it. The downside to this is you need to give this farm probably about 3 hours to hit optimal levels, because all these hoppers here need to get full before the kelp will be evenly distributed amongst them all. So the first few hours, you'll probably be best filling these up with coal. And of course, you can come and get XP from these once they've been working for a while. Oh, 16 and 1. Give us some XP, but maybe... Oh, just enough, 31. There we go. Okay, so we got 31. Now, for this farm, it will take you about 4 hours of it working for you to get level 30. If you want the most XP out of these farms, you want to use the kelp to cook up cactus. But we're going to move on to a farm that is 5 times faster. That is actually 4 flying machines. This farm right here produces 15k kelp per hour, and it's fairly cheap. We only need a few observers in that for these flying machines. They take a little bit of finagling to set up, but it's actually fairly simple. And we just come across here and cut all this kelp down. It's very dense, meaning we use not a lot of room for the amount of kelp we have. But for that huge amount of kelp, we need a big furnace array. My original plan was to actually have a proper super smelter, but it just made more sense to just let the kelp come in, just like in the previous farm, and use the furnaces as their own sort of like round robin or controller for how much actually gets in, and all these kelp here will slowly get cooked up, and by the time this is getting close to being empty, the kelp will already be coming in for the next load. But because there's a big burst, we actually need more than we would normally need for this amount, simply because with this type of flying machine farm, there's a big wait period between the bursts of kelp. Now if we wait until time speeds up a little bit, like 10 times as fast, we can actually see it happening in action without it being too slow. And as you can see, all the kelp is getting culled out, and they will trigger each other. So it's not just such a big burst of kelp. It does still come in at a medium rate that allows us not to end up with a huge burst of kelp just sitting here on the end because all these hoppers are maxed out. And as you can see, we're actually left with no spare kelp. This hopper here is just under being full, so we've just got the perfect amount. Once it's all cooked up, it gets shot out the back into all these hoppers if they aren't full, and then any excess gets into these chests down here. And I've only been running this for a little while. I have emptied it. So this does produce about 900 blocks per hour, and will get you level 30 in roughly an hour. So if I did extract the XP out of all these, we would actually probably get, well, way over level 30, because I've ran this quite a while. Okay, so I just put down a wall of blocks here and some redstone on it, and this will block the hoppers below these furnaces. So this has been running for several hours. So we're going to get a lot of XP, but based on the calculations, it will take 1 hour, or actually under an hour, for you to get level 30 from all of this. Of course, as I said before, the actual kelp blocks can then be used to cook up cactus, and you'll get more XP than you would probably need from most other farms, and it's all stored up until you want it. But let's see how much we got. I'm level 0, I have no XP. Let's grab some. Just from that, I got 23. So let's just keep going. How high will we get? I will remind you guys that kelp is one of the worst things to cook for XP. It only provides 0.1, so you need to cook 10 kelp before it gives you a single XP. So yeah, if you let this run for a while, you might not even need any other XP farm. But of course, if you need a big burst of XP right away again, yeah, you're gonna have to wait a little while. But that's just ridiculous. I got 71 just from a kelp farm. Alright, anyway, let's move on to something even bigger. The second to last farm, and this one does 50k an hour. Let's go. Now things are getting pretty laggy because the farms are getting pretty big. So for this farm, we are looking at something a little bit more standard. We have a observer at the base level with the piston above, and this allows it to be more compact and us to stack it 3 times with being the right size for an 8 wide water flow, so that the water comes into here and meets up in the middle. Don't mind this is just a weird bug with how cloning works, and it's not really affecting us too much. This does 53k kelp per hour and almost 3000 kelp blocks an hour. Instead of one central furnace location, we have them all split up amongst 6 of the rows here, and this just helps us not have to do all the kelp into one spot and no big array. We just have them separated. You can get your XP fairly simple. All we do is just come down here, press this lever like this, it blocks the hoppers. I'll need to change into survival, get rid of XP I currently have, set 0 levels, and then points. Alright, so let's grab some. Now, I did clear this a little bit earlier because this is my 3rd attempt at recording this, because I just end up going on too long or making a mistake. But we got 30 already from this. Now, this hasn't been running for long, maybe 20 minutes. This thing can do level 30 about 5 times an hour. So yeah, you're looking at plenty of XP just from this. Now, if you take some of this kelp and make a cactus farm, you're fine. Now, I've said that 100 times. I really like cactus farms. I'm sorry. Most people think they're pretty useless, but I really like them. Anyway, let's move on to the 100,000 kelp per hour and the lag machine for this world. And there's actually some really nice terrain behind me. Look, I'm getting distracted by the terrain, but wow. All right, it doesn't go to build height, but that's getting close. Ooh. And that's cool. If you guys want the seed, let me know. Let's go. So here it is, the 100,000 kelp per hour farm, and it is massive. My computer was just ramping up as soon as I got into this area. I could just hear it going as we were just loading it in. It's just so much. I can run it fairly well, but I definitely have to keep my render distance down. The main benefit of this farm is just, well, the quantity. I tried to help reduce the lag through 2 means. You'll notice that we're using the same method as the last farm, but also there's no signs up here. So I've made the single chamber, you could say, extra high to prevent the kelp getting this high before it gets broken by the pistons, so we don't have signs. That will help reduce some of the lag. And the other thing is when the kelp gets here, which is kind of a problem because we actually have too much kelp. But each of these cells here, so these cells constitute 10 little farms, produces about 800 to 850 kelp each. And a single furnace, or smoker I should say, can cook 720 per hour. So it's a little over. In fact, I would probably get rid of one of these if I wanted it perfect. But that helps us cook this stuff up and it doesn't spend as much time traveling, reducing lag, hopefully. This does have the downside, of course, we really can't get XP out of them. We sort of could. We could put a block here like this and then a lever on it and grab some XP. So if I jump down here, game mode survival, and if we turn that on and grab a kelp out of it, 18, so there you go. But you would have to go around to all of them and do that, and actually we should turn that off so it actually can cook and process. But yeah, at this scale the XP doesn't matter anymore. And if you did want the XP, you'd go for a different design. You would most likely probably do something similar to the previous design, where maybe at the end of this row, you would have the little furnace like sticking out here, and then it would drop down the kelp all the way down here to get picked up. And it's just kind of nice to watch it all come flying down. Yeah, but yeah, the kelp gets ejected out, comes across on top of the hopper. Once again, we're using the iron boots, and then any excess falls down here into the final storage. I actually don't have it set up. I just have a carpet counter, thanks to Nembom. But I don't think I need to show you how you would store this. You would probably have, I would personally probably have about 5 hoppers with tons of chest space, because at roughly, what was it, 5,500 kelp blocks per hour. Yeah, but that's 2 double chests every hour. I don't know what you're cooking with this, but if you ever build something this big, yeah, good luck to you. I don't know what you're cooking, but yeah, I want to see your world. I want to see what else you have if this is just one of the things you need. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this kind of interesting. I will see you guys in the next video. So, ciao.